You might want to check out this website actually, www.kenart.net. It's a friend of mine who's just set up a company in Shanghai with American McGee, and he's absolutely fantastic concept artist. They're currently working on a game. It's going to be episodic content, so it's going to be released one episode a week for something like 24 weeks. So it's a 24-part game based on Grimm fairy tales, and each episode is a different Grimm fairy tale. And this is concept art for that is so impressive. Like Pinocchio, the way he's taken that character there, and you put a real kind of grim twist on it. And Red Riding Hood there as well, with a basket of wolf tongues. And a wolf tooth bracelet as well, I hadn't noticed that before. So do have a look through his stuff as well if you're interested in concept art and see the kind of thing he's been producing for the Grimm game that's coming out. Okay, as well, as a concept artist, you'd probably be required to do storyboarding as well. Each of the cutscenes within the game needs to be storyboarded. So the animators and the concept artists might actually work on the storyboards together. This was just, this wasn't actually for a cutscene, I think. Was it? I think this was an in-game piece. Just so you will actually storyboard sections from in-game as well, where something dramatic happens. Or there's the potential for that to happen. Sorry?
Looks like Burnout Paradise.
Ah, no, it wasn't Burnout Paradise. It was just LA Rush, but it does. Yeah, it does have that feel to it. Have you been playing Burnout Paradise?
Yes.
Actually, 4 of my students from last year ended up working on Project Gotham 4. They did a placement at Bizarre Creations, and so they're all sitting there in the lecture when the game was released. You know, we've all got a game out in the shop today, Project Gotham 4. So quite impressive. Okay, so to get a job as a games artist, showreels should demonstrate strong work and originality. Companies like to see that you understand anatomy and architecture, as well as having strong modelling and texturing skills in Photoshop, 3D Studio Max or Maya. I believe it's Maya you're using here? Is that right? Yeah. I think before it was pretty much the majority of studios were using 3D Studio Max, but a lot of them are moving over to Maya now, and I find as the kind of specifications for games, you know, the next generation consoles, you can go kind of much bigger and better with textures and poly counts. As an example, let's see, the racing games I was working on for the PS2 and Xbox, you know, the cars, in-game cars would have about 3,000 polys. I was speaking to Bizarre Creations about Project Gotham 4, so compared to 3,000 polys, their cars had between 80 and 120,000 polygons in them, so it's like quite a big jump. What was I saying before I went off track? Yes, Maya. So yeah, a lot of studios are moving to that now. So a lot of the bigger ones are using it, such as Blitz Games and Nemington Spa and Codemasters and Bizarre Creations. Storyboarding skills are useful for concept artists, as well as a flair for colour, composition, perspective, lighting, mood, and ability to convey expressions and emotion convincingly. So if you kind of look, the majority of you looking to get in. Would you be looking to get into are you all interested in getting into the games industry? So some of you are, some of you aren't, right. Would it be as kind of designers or artists?
I want to be a modeller.
You want to be a modeller? Yeah, there's always calls for modellers. Yeah. There's many kind of modellers. Right. I mean, I'll go into a bit about applying for jobs in the industry at the end and the kind of things, you know, you put into showreels and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's just having kind of some strong anatomy stuff shown. Although the majority of the stuff you would be modelling, the majority of modellers model environments and settings. Most studios will only have kind of a few character specialist artists. Okay. Key skills include modelling, texturing techniques, imagination and creativity, observation, attention to detail, and ability to work to a style guide, which would be, you know, provided by the designers and concept artists. Okay, audio engineers. My much younger brother has just actually started studying at Teesside. He wants to be a kind of an audio engineer in the industry. I'm actually teaching him level design at the moment, which is really weird. But the audio engineers would create the soundtrack for the game, including everything from music and speech through to sound effects that support the game action, such as footsteps, and then there's loads of different types of footsteps as well, depending on where the player's walking, whether they're walking through a long kind of echoey corridor, whether they're running across gravel, through snow, on an ordinary street. So just the footsteps alone, there can be sort of tens of different types of footsteps. Gunshots, again, you can have different types of gunshots depending on the environment, or explosions and ambient sound effects such as crowd noise, vehicles or rain. I remember when we sat down when I was working again on LA Rush, working out a list of all the different sound effects we should have in there. And we're just thinking of all the sounds out in the street. Like we noticed not many games that actually put in sound effects. Like, you know, if you hit a car parked at the side of the road, you'd be pretty likely to have alarms going off. So we've had all those going off. And then sounds like whenever the vehicles pass, you'd have kind of sort of booming bass going on sort of inside some of the kind of more boy racer type vehicles that pass you. So you can make lists and lists of all the noises to actually put into it. So they're responsible for sourcing the sound effects that are needed and creating them where necessary. Can be quite hard to do as well, to get it looping as well, particularly if you're creating vehicle sounds. It's sort of difficult to kind of get a really good engine noise unless you are actually driving round a racetrack and recording it, because obviously you've got to get the different pitches of the engine. We actually had a guy, you should maybe look him up online, Tommy Tallarico is probably one of the most famous game sound guys. Quite a small guy. Whenever he came over to the studio, he'd hire a Dodge Viper the second he got into the country and 2 models to come along with him into the studio. And he wore a Rolex on each wrist as well. It just shows how much money he was making as an audio engineer in the US. But yeah, he'd come over and just kind of spend a few days there, sort of taking a whole range of really swanky cars out on kind of Croft racetrack, and then recording the engine sounds and then send it over to us and charge us an awful lot of money for it. So audio engineers would also audition and record any actors that are needed, as well as composing, scoring and recording music. And they'd then need to edit, mix and master the music and sounds to produce the soundtrack for the finished game. So they might need to actually compose a whole load of music specifically for it, or you might use kind of existing music, but then you need to get the rights to all of that. And then there's kind of just the ambient music when the player's walking. Everything needs to loop really well, because when the player's just standard exploring the environment, you'd have one type of fairly laid back music going on. And then as you've got a kind of tense situation coming up, you'd need to have that music then cut in, and it'd need to sort of loop and then fit perfectly with the music from when you were just exploring, and then that might build to kind of battle music. Again, that all needs to loop in really well. So a musical background is essential, as the role will involve composing and performing music, creating sound effects. Experience of sound recording, editing and mixing is also required. Relevant skills can be transferred from other sectors, so you don't have to be kind of a game-specific audio engineer. You can employ someone with experience from many different sectors. So they need a sense of fun and ability to think laterally, so they need to think. They come up with all kinds of crazy ways of creating specific sound effects. And especially fantasy games require a lot of creativity and imagination. I've got a link at the bottom here, great, we'll try that out. So important factors are a sense of timing and attention to detail, a good feel for the atmosphere of the games, so to actually create the kind of atmosphere that's suggested by the concept artist's drawings. And a degree or higher education qualification in sound engineering is very useful. Now let's see if I can... did I not set that link up properly?